Hey, Hank here from Big Dog Reviews, and I just want to let you know that we have our Ailunce HA1UV, and upgraded the firmware, and we're able to do some programming. I got to say, this is not the easiest radio to program. It's much easier if you use the software, because figuring out how to program it using the keypad can be a bit of a challenge. I was able to do it. I made a few mistakes, but got it figured out. And I'm just telling you, it's a lot easier to do with the software. The software kind of sucks. It's not Chirp compatible. You can't export from Chirp and import it into the Retevis software. So you have to program it all in, but still easier to do on a computer than on the tiny keypad here. A cool feature about this is if you press side button number 1 and press the talk, when you turn it on, it puts it into firmware upgrade mode. And then you can use your software, upgrade this firmware, assuming you've downloaded the firmware from Retevis or Ailunce. But also, if you hold the PTT button, push to talk, and the 8 while turning it on, it expands the frequency range. So now you have the 135 to 480 range. That gives you all your GMRS and probably some of your local emergency services and municipal services, stuff like that. So you can program a lot of stuff in there. It holds 250 memory channel slots, but they're grouped in groups of 16, which again is kind of a pain in the ass. If, like me, I like to just plug my radio into Chirp and download every repeater for the state into the radio and call it a day. Here, since I have to program line by line, even using the software, I have to enter channel by channel. And in addition to entering channel by channel, you then have to go into a scan list and add that channel to the scan list. Then you have to go to the zone list and add it to the zone list, editing whichever zone you have it in. I have a Western Massachusetts zone. Put 16 channels in there. If I want Central Mass, I can put 16 more channels in there. But there were over 300 repeaters in Massachusetts. So if I wanted to put the channels in by zone, I would still end up about 50 channels short, or channel slots short, because it can only hold 250 channels. But that's more than I would put in. I put in a handful from each geographic region. So 16, I guess, works, but it's just a bit of a pain to enter them one at a time, as opposed to being able to, as with Chirp, just import them from Repeater Book or whatever other source you may have, or from Chirp itself would be nice, because I have all of my radios set up in Chirp. So if I could export them from chirp into a CSV file and import them, that would be great, but it doesn't work that way. This radio, the software for it, I think it'll only import or open a JSOP file, which is some type of a JavaScript file, and I haven't really played around with that much. What I can tell you is this radio is exactly the same as the Retevis Ailunce HA1UV, which we have here. This radio, the only difference is the font they use on the radio itself. The UV has a skinnier font, and that's the only physical difference. Internally, the difference is the firmware. However, if you upload the latest firmware version for the HA1UV, you then have the very same option. If you hold PTT and 8 when turning it on, it'll unlock the radio. And I believe it'll stay unlocked, unlike the previous software hack that was, or firmware hack that was out there. Let me just test that. Hold 8, PTT, turn it on. Yeah, that switched it back to GMRS frequency. So it does retain. Press 8, PTT, turn it on. Extend 136 to 480. So with the HA1UV, you're unlocking the 2 meter, 70 centimeter frequencies. With the HA1UV, you're unlocking the GMRS frequencies. It's the same radio. I think the HA1UV is cheaper. So if that is the case, there's no reason to buy the UV. I would recommend getting the HA1UV and just unlocking it. Upload the new firmware and unlock it, and you're good to go. As far as features, the HA1UV, just like the HA1UV, it's IP67 rated, fairly water resistant. I don't want to say waterproof. It's water resistant for a certain period of time in like 6 feet of water. Ideally, that situation will never come up, but if you use it for emergency situations, or even while hiking or camping, say you're out hiking a mountain and you get caught in a downpour or some torrential rain, you don't have to worry about the radio getting screwed up, because the water's not gonna bother it. It's got a fairly long life battery. I have not depleted this battery yet. I've had it running for a couple of days, and it comes with 2 antennas: the standard little not stubby, but the rubber duck antenna, and a whip antenna. And of course, the whip antenna will give you a little more range, so I just put that on there and called it a day. I'm going to stick with that. So that's the HA1UV. If you don't want to bother with upgrading firmware on the HA1UV, I can solidly recommend this radio. but I still suggest you get the HA1G and unlock it, because either way you have to upload firmware. So when I get to the cheaper radio with exactly the same specifications and body and same IP water resistant rating, dust proof, waterproof, drop proof. I haven't tested the drop yet. Hopefully I won't have to, but if it falls, I'll let you know when and how far and how it held up. So for now, that's all we've got until the weather clears up a bit and we get to go out and play around in the woods and maybe up some mountains with it and check it out. I got to imagine it works pretty much the same as every other radio. Really, the only difference in these is the build quality and the look and feel. And this radio looks and feels sturdy and rugged. It fits I have big hands and it fits my hands nicely. I really like it. I was prepared to give it a bad review because of issues I was having programming it. The first one I got just flat out didn't work. I had to send it back. This one, it works. I did notice that you get a red screen when you key the mic, as opposed to the little box that used to pop up saying transmitting and giving you your signal strength and frequency and CTC code. This doesn't do that. This will tell you it does tell you the frequency and code if there is a code, but it's a red box. I think we've pretty much covered it. It's a good solid radio, and I'm bummed that I purchased it before finding out about the firmware upgrade to the HA1G, but I'm not unsatisfied with. I think this was like $70, and from what I've heard, the HA1G is currently going for around 40. So could have gotten 2 of those instead of 1 of these, but I've already got 3 of the HA1Gs, so don't really need any more. And next review, I'm not sure. We still have to get back to the Retevis RT48P GMRS radio. We haven't yet to field test that, but that'll be later. For now, we're done. 73s.